Former Principal Kurt Dennis has filed a lawsuit against Denver Public Schools and the school board members that voted to fire him.
Yeah, that lawsuit claiming that Dennis was illegally terminated for speaking to 9 News about his safety concerns and the school district's lack of action regarding safety. Our Jaleesa Irizarry joins us now. And Jaleesa, his lawyers say his firing was an act of retaliation.
Tom and Alex, Dennis's lawyer David Lane believes there is no doubt this is retaliation for Dennis speaking out about DPS's policy allowing students to still attend school while they face criminal charges. Now, Dennis is the former principal of McAuliffe International School. He raised safety concerns to 9 News in the aftermath of the East High shooting where 2 administrators were hurt while performing a pat down on a student. At that time, Dennis says staff had to perform similar pat downs to a student at his school who was charged with attempted murder. The district says Dennis was fired for violating student privacy laws. Dennis's lawyer claims he was retaliated against for exercising his free speech rights by terminating his employment.
DPS is saying, well, everybody at school knew who this kid was, after Kurt went on TV and told the story. Truth is that everybody knows who this kid is anyway, because he's the kid that gets greeted at the door every day by administrators. He's the kid with the ankle bracelet on, put there by the court. He's the kid that gets taken into the office every day. He's the kid that gets followed around from class to class by administrators every day. This is no secret. These kids that go to school there aren't idiots. They know what's going on.
Denver Public Schools says they have not been served with the suit, so they can't comment on the allegations. We also reached out to the 6 board members listed on the suit. Board member Ayante Anderson shared a statement saying, in part, it's important for our community to get closure on this entire situation, but also learn a lesson to ensure that this never happens again. Anderson and the school board said they voted to accept the district's firing in part because of Dennis's use of the seclusion room at McAuliffe. Tom.
Ayante Anderson may talk about closure, but it seems like this story keeps taking another lap every day.
It's far from being over. We did ask David Lane about how long do we think this suit will play out. He said, it could be settled, but it also could take about 1 or 2 years. All
right, we know you'll follow it. Thanks, Jaleesa. Well, today, United Airlines had to stop flights nationwide briefly due to what they called a system-wide technology issue. United clarifying that it was not cybersecurity that was the problem. Instead, it was a software update that caused the glitch. So the FAA said United asked it to stop all departures while the issue was repaired. Flights that were already airborne at the time of the ground stop were allowed to continue on towards their destinations. The FAA then posted on social media that the ground stop was lifted after just 15 minutes. 90 flights in all were delayed here in Denver, and 1 was in fact canceled.
Giving you a live look outside, beautiful blue skies. And as we check in with Kathy, it was almost like a little chill in the air this morning. It was nice.
It definitely had a feeling of fall today on this Tuesday afternoon. Alex, you're exactly right. Typically, temperatures are in the mid-80s this time of year, and we have been in the mid-70s for much of the afternoon. Beautiful blue skies. It looks and feels a lot like fall out there, but the autumnal equinox still about 2.5 weeks away. A few clouds coming into the Fort Collins area, and we're now 76 in downtown Denver, 87 in Lamar, 67 in Leadville, and 68 in Steamboat. So certainly cool in our northern mountains. 24-hour temperature difference anywhere from about 10 to 20 to 25 degrees cooler across northeastern Colorado. All complements of that cool front which moved through, helping to increase humidity values a little bit. We're still concerned with fire danger heading into the next few days as the winds increase, temperatures go back to the 80s and 90s, and the atmosphere dries out. And with high pressure anchored over us, all the moisture will stay north with the jet stream carrying that precipitation into the Midwest, where we're tracking strong thunderstorms tonight from Bismarck to Minneapolis down to the St. Louis area. No doubt some travel delays for those that may be extended that holiday weekend. Sunshine and mid-70s in Denver today. We'll look for the numbers to come down about 5 degrees around the dinner hour. Coming up in Maine weather, a quiet, cool evening. Then we're warming up. Yep, 80s and 90s are back in the forecast, but there's also a chance for showers in the extended forecast. And of course, we'll have the forecast for next weekend, which is going to be a big football weekend, I hear.
Oh, yeah. All right, Kathy, thanks. COVID-related hospitalizations are trending upward across the country as people wait for the FDA's approval for a new booster. The CDC's data tracker shows weekly hospital admissions for COVID-19 rose from 6.4 thousand in the beginning of July to over 15,000 at the end of August. Colorado is seeing a slight rise in hospitalizations, up to 112 based on the numbers just in last week. That is still nothing compared to what we saw, those spikes from 2020 to 2022. 2022. An infectious disease expert at UC Health offered a bit of perspective.
What's different about now compared to 2020, 2021 is we have therapeutics and we have vaccination. Also, about 97% of the population has some degree of immunity to COVID, either through vaccination immunity or a combination of both. So that means even if we see increased number of people testing positive, the healthcare system isn't going to be impacted in the same way that it was before.
The state is reporting less than 200 new cases each day, still a very low number compared to other surges when Colorado is reporting thousands of cases every day. Well, it happened. Yeah, I feel like it has. Well, it hasn't happened since December 6th of 2020, but the Colorado Buffs are nationally ranked yet again.
Yeah, today the AP Top 25 came out. The Buffs jumped to number 22, continuing all of the national recognition they've gotten. It was actually well before they beat TCU with all the noise that came with Coach Prime. But then when that win was posted on the board, that impressive win, all of a sudden they've jumped into everyone's favorite column. Ariel Arsuto was in Boulder this morning before the poll was announced. The excitement just continues to grow in a variety of ways up there.
Yeah, and I think actually, like you said, I mean, the excitement was there all along, but now it's just everywhere. And I think kind of one of the most interesting parts was actually being there while the polls were starting to roll out. I was in the room with Coach Prime when the coaches poll was released, where they were voted 25th. And then he was pleased with that, even asking the last time the team was ranked. But then it all came back to game prep for him. They're focused only on one thing this week, and that's winning. The Nebraska rivalry is really just a bonus and something to keep them motivated throughout the week. But this group is riding a high from this past Saturday and is ready to prove this isn't just a fluke. In fact, Coach Prime doesn't even really care about the rankings.
I don't care what no one says about where we should be ranked. I don't care about no ranking. I care about how we practice tomorrow. That's what I'm caring about right now. That ranking don't have a record, does it? Ranking don't have a record. Thank you.
We also heard from Shedeur Sanders today, who felt like there were a lot of mistakes and points left on the table, and they have the potential to be even more potent this weekend, if you could believe that.
Shedeur heard from another quarterback, I was told, after the game.
Yeah, so he actually has a pretty long-standing relationship with Tom Brady, through his dad, of course. And so that's been a relationship that they've kind of developed and has gotten even more. And so after the game, Tom Brady reached out, texted him, and said, don't be satisfied.
More, keep coming. I don't think many people are worried about that offense not being able to keep its stride. They look like they're loaded on offense.
They do.
The question might be on defense.
Yeah, and he addressed that today. So I think we were all kind of worried about that defense, right? Because, that defensive line, they built from the outside in instead of the inside out. He addressed that today. He said that he believes that Coach Kelly actually came up with a really good game plan. It was the players and the linebackers that didn't live up to that potential. They never got a single pressure, a single sack on the quarterback. He actually put it back on the players.
But the last play that TCU ran, there was pressure on the quarterback.
That was the important part. That was the crucial time where they finally got the pressure, right? They needed it there. But he said that Coach Kelly had the perfect game plan. His players just didn't execute. So if they have the game plan and the players want to execute, boy, I mean, things can really come together.
Winning combination.
Well, Saturday is Nebraska, home opener, Coach Prime. I mean, this is going to be some Saturday up in Boulder.
It's going to be really, I hope it lives up to what we're hyping it up to be, because every time CU and Nebraska play, it's just an incredible event. One of my first games I covered, it was probably the second game I imagined, back in 2019, my first year here, was the last time Nebraska was here back in 2019. That game went to overtime, multiple overtimes, and CU won in an extra field goal. It's incredible. The fans, they all stormed the field. Yeah. It was a great moment. And that was just back there in 2019. Now I can only imagine what it's going to feel like now, as long as there's not a whole lot of red in the stands.
Well, they already bought their tickets, so I think they're going to be
there.
Yeah, they'll be there. We'll see how happy they are at the end, and we'll watch Ralphie run and all that. It's going to be a great Saturday.
It's going to be a great weekend.
All right, we'll talk to you more about it coming up at 5 o'clock.